Okay, I decided to sit down and do a video over kind of my back history in the industry. I've had a few people, well, actually, I'm not going to say I've had a few people. I've had several ask me on social media, and I've given the explanation. So I thought I'd do an official video kind of giving my background on where my experience comes from. When I was in high school, I was going. My dream for years was to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't know. I can't specifically say it was an elementary teacher or high school teacher. I just wanted to be a teacher all my life. So I got my little, I guess you could call it, scholarship. The one scholarship that I got was from the Mustang Association of Classroom Teachers, and I think it was for $250. You had to write an essay on why you thought you should be awarded. And I can remember growing up as a little girl, we had the elementary school that I went to was very close to my house, and this sounds so horrible, but during the summer, we would go up to the school and they would throw all their books and teacher's edition books. So all the answers, all the books for the answers were in there, and I would go get them. Weird. Yes, I know. Anyway, I grew out of that, thankfully. I got married right out of high school. My new husband was military. We moved to Fort Sill. I went through, I take it back. I went to 1 year college. I went to 1 year college at a Christian college here in our area. And then I moved down to Fort Sill with him. And the original plan was I would transfer down to the university down there, and that didn't happen. God has a way of tweaking things around. I ended up going to work at a flower shop at first, and then I don't know how I found, I'll be honest with you, this has been well over 25 years ago. I went to work in my first clinic, which was a pediatric clinic, in an office that was an extension of the hospital down there. It was a pediatric clinic that shared office space with an immediate care center, or as we know it now as urgent care. So I was check-in at that time, and I became a sponge. I asked questions all the time, and I was learning. I'd never been in a clinic, I'd never worked in a clinic. I was at Walmart, then the flower shop, and now this first medical office. So I became fast friends with the nurse and the office manager. Great friends. I still periodically talk to the nurse, even 20 something years later. I mean, it's a rare, but we have contact. Okay, so then we get orders to move to Nebraska. I got my letters of recommendation for employment from the doc that was in the immediate care center, and the doctor I worked for, and another administrator. So I had armed with my letters of recommendation, and I immediately get a job at a pediatric clinic in Nebraska. It was shortly after that, basically, I had a not so great experience at this particular clinic. It was a very large clinic, all women. I worked with probably 35 women. There's 35 different PMS days. You can create that scenario of what's going on. Then I was told by a couple of ladies that they couldn't associate with me because I was married to the military. Okay. Very anti-military town, although there's an Air Force base literally not that far from there. Okay, so I get a clerical job doing data entry at the school system at the corporate. Okay, well then I end up moving back home. Of course, when I moved back home at this point in time, I am about to divorce my husband. I get a job at the hospital in the radiology department. I'm going to fast forward through a bunch of stuff. So I transferred from the radiology department. An opening came up in referrals in a family practice that's also part of the hospital network. Go to a family practice of 3 physicians or 3 family doctors doing referrals. Young and dumb. That's all I got to say. I was young and dumb. And then left there to go to an OB clinic. Was supposed to take the office manager's position. The physician's wife did not communicate that with the current office manager, who was also the head RN. She did not like me, so she had me let go. That was the only time I was ever terminated from a job. Then the rest of my life, the beginning of the rest of my life began. For 3 weeks, I was unemployed, but I kept seeing this one job advertised, and I'm trying to remember where it was that I found it. I don't remember if it was on Craigslist or where it was. Mind you, this is back in 2001, I think. I finally applied to this ad that I've been seeing over and over and over. And it was to a multi-specialty surgical group in the ENT division. And that's when I entered the world of surgery for the first time. So I was with the ENT for a couple of years. He leaves the group and goes independent. I followed him. And then after a bit, I go back to the original corporate and started in with, when I went back over to corporate, mind you, that was also my first tap into billing with the ENT group. When he went independent, I completely took over his billing. So charge entry, coding, surgeries, payment posting. Hold on just a second. Coding his surgeries and charge entry, payment posting, patient balances, all of it. Taking care of all of it. Then I go back to the original corporate office, and at that point in time, I was just entering demographics. My ultimate goal was to get up to account rep. That was the prestigious role in that group. And in this office, there was different divisions. So you had the urology, the general surgery, gallbladders, hernias, those kinds of things, orthopedics, physical therapy, neurosurgery, podiatry. I think that's all. I started out how they work their offices. And this was a group of like 40 surgeons between all of these specialties. So what those offices would do is when a patient came in, they copied their cards, got their information had their information filled out. They would scan all those, and then they would email them to the corporate office. And we, the ones who were those entering in the information, they emailed them to us. We data entered in. So we would put, just for accuracy, so that all 40 plus offices, we knew that every office's demographics, insurance, all of that stuff was entered correctly. There was no question of, oh, this office, they don't ever get it right, or, there's always going to be errors. To eliminate that potential issue and to help the billers so that all information entered was on the hands of 2 people. We knew 1 of 2 people had entered that patient's demographics for all 40 offices. So your emails were blowing up consistently. So you would have email after email after email after email, and it's all patient information to be entered into the system. At that point in time, it was Tiger, all scripts. And so we literally, if something was wrong, if you did something wrong, they're coming to you. They're not going to the office that it belongs to because they know they didn't enter it. You did. And so you had that, which honestly was not that big a deal. I could put a patient's, do a patient's chart, lickety split. All you're doing, and if you know the old Tiger screens, it's so simple. Patient, responsible party, insurance, emergency contact, save. So easy. And we had to do massive, massive research before we could enter a new insurance company because obviously you didn't want duplicates and triplicates and quadruplicates of the same insurance company. So there was lots of ways to search for an insurance company before you added one. And if I remember correctly, we had to show our quote account manager the insurance information before we could add it to the system just to verify it wasn't in there under a different, we could search by name, and I don't remember I don't think we could search. Yeah, we could search by address. So you could put PO box whatever and see if you could find it. Okay. So I did that for I don't know how long. And then cuz I was there for about 7ish years, I did eventually work myself up to account rep. I was in charge of orthopedics and physical therapy. The orthos had two orthopedic docs and then physical therapists. And our orthos, our neuros, and our PT were all in the same building of the same office building, same floor. Not in the same as corporate, but they were all housed in the same office space. And so of course, ortho was one of the main ones to refer to our PT department, and then neuro also sent to a PT. So I and the account rep for neuros worked closely together. So I did that, and then I helped with special projects. So if we had, a urologist, I remember a couple of times one of the urologists. Oh, okay. So I had ortho and PT, then another girl had neuro, then I think there was 3 account reps that all had urology, and then another one had podiatry, and then we had 2 that had all the generals. So each person was specialty specific. Um, there was times where we had an employee that wasn't quite, doing up to par. Um, I had a thirst to learn. So I ultimately ended up helping with special projects because I showed the initiative, I showed the knowledge base, and that I was willing to learn. And I did. So I ended up being on special projects in addition to doing my accounts, and helped with urology, and the generals tried to get some things, caught up and figure out what was going on, and, claim rejects issues, working correspondence and whatnot. So throughout this period of time, I've gone through all the different, and I learned podiatry. I don't quite know it as well as I do some of my other specialties. I do know each toe, is has different coding sets for it. But point of the matter is, that's where I learned the biggest bulk of learning how to handle correspondence, denials, rejections, and learned how to schmooze up different insurances, and sometimes would get a central person that I could shoot an email to and say, hey, got this issue with this claim, and they would help me where I didn't have to call in. From there, I had the opportunity to apply to be able to work more from home because at the time my daughter was really, I had 2 kids by that time, and my daughter was young and was starting to become very chronically ill, and I needed to be with her. And so I had found a DME position that I could be kind of, half remote, half at the office. So I switched from physician billing and went over to DME. Did that for almost 2 years, and I was ready to get back into physician billing. So I applied at an OB-GYN office and never worked in OB-GYN, but it's not hard to learn. And the billing concepts were huge. Um, at that office, I would spend the next almost 9 years of my life. It was for two OBs and literally everything from I would help answer phones, schedule, although I didn't do a whole lot of that, but all billing aspects, coding, charge entry, payment posting, um, pre-certifications, patient balances, prenatal agreements. I was IT person. Something happened with systems, they all came to me. Medicaid projects. I had several different systems, tracking systems put in place, spreadsheets that we kept track of. There were two physicians. Towards the end of that time frame that I was with them, we that office closed. One surgeon or one physician moved to a different state. The other one went to a big group. Well, they already had their billers. The big group was already established, already had their billing department, so they didn't need me. And I was a 1099 anyway. But also the fact, here's another one of those God tweaking things. My parents needed care at that time. My kids were in middle and intermediate school. Okay, so by this time it's like 2018. So around literally, I believe January 29th was when that OB office closed, and I started being home. And then one weekend we went with my husband to Texas. He was going to school, doing a week school. So I took the kids. We went down and stayed in a hotel. While I was down there, I get a call from the doc that I used to work with. She said, "Hey, there's this doc that's going to be calling you. He's looking at bringing his billing in-house. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Absolutely." She said, "Okay, he's going to be calling you." I got a call from him that day. And he said, "Can we meet the following Monday?" Like, that's great because I'm in Texas right now. So the following Monday, I went in and I met with him. And this would be the start of the next long-term physician that I was with. So we'll call doctors A and B of the first office of OB that I was with that was for almost 9 years. Then Dr. C, or Dr. P, we'll call him Dr. P for Dr. Patel. Started working with him. Uh, I had the option of working from home, but we had two locations, so I went to one location the majority of the time. We were at both locations every day. So the staff would go to the north office, I'd be at the south office, and then in the afternoon they'd be at the south office, and I would leave by like 3 o'clock to go pick up my kids from school. And then there's times where I worked from home. It just depended upon what was going on. But I also was a surgery scheduler for that. So not only did I do all of the billing, every once in a while I would help answer the phones, but data entry, insurance. I trained my girl there. I trained her and taught her all aspects of insurance. I taught her how to look for things, what to look for on insurance websites, how to figure out if you needed a referral with an insurance company. I did heavy duty, in-depth training with her, and now she's able to do things without my assistance. I mean, she texts me or calls me when she needs things, as I'm fully remote now. So I'm working with him, and we decide that we're going to transition from an OB-GYN office to a GYN med spa. So we're going to be getting out of hospital work. He was tired, missing out on things with his kids, and so he decided he was going to work from, just be a med spa. He does a locums to kind of help bring in some more money to start up this med spa. In this med spa, we're going to do BioT pellets, we're doing Botox, we're doing cool sculpting, IV therapy, all kinds of, typical med spa stuff. So around this time, I had also been approached by a friend of mine who lived on the street that her biller for her radiology group had been fatally, sadly killed in a car accident. So, do I know anybody? Well, of course, I'm going to help her out. So I started helping her, and I said, you know what? Don't worry about hiring anybody. I'll just do it myself. So now I've got a side gig of doing radiology, and one, bringing extra money, two, learning new things, and helping her. Well, during the time that he's doing the locums to bring in more funds, my work with radiology goes up, so it fills in that gap. Another form of God providing. So he's provided for me when didn't went from the two physicians to Dr. Patel, filled in that gap, and then here we are filling in the gap for OB work going down, radiology going up. Okay. So I'm doing radiology more full time and Patel stuff a little bit part time. Then I get a call from another OB that was kind of in the call group of the original physicians A and B that I was working with, and the OB, and then this new, we'll say, Dr. D. She contacts me and is in desperate, dire need. She needs help with her billing because she just is, it's, her biller is not doing well. And do some training with her front staff. So over time, I end up taking over her billing. Mind you, my med spa office and her office are on the same software, Advanced MD. Absolutely fabulous. So it was great. I took over her billing and doing med spa and doing radiology, all remote. Then it came to a point where Dr. D asked me if I would be willing to help a nurse practitioner with her credentialing. She's wanting to get credentialed with insurances, and I'm like, absolutely. So I talk with her and guide her, do some training, and then end up ultimately start kind of doing her billing for her on a kind of a temporary basis. She was on Cario, so I taught myself Cario. Then I'm in an advanced MD group on Facebook, and a gentleman posted a question. I answered it, and then he messages me, and then I start doing consulting work with him and doing background audits. And so now I have my original med spa, Dr. D, radiology. Oh, okay. So actually, before I go on to the mental health office, my radiology group closes the office that we had in Kansas, and we're opening up a PET CT center here in Oklahoma City. So now I'm not only credentialing the nurse practitioner, but now I'm beginning new contracts, a brand new provider, brand new MPI, brand new everything for this radiology group. So back to credentialing I go, back to setting up processes and also on Advanced MD. So now 3, and then my mental health office, that's 4 offices that are all on Advanced MD, which makes it great for me because all I have to do is log out of one key and log into another one. And setting up processes and teaching and training and guiding in that manner. The mental health office, I was doing background reporting, trying to figure out where some things were just going awry. So I started working, doing reports and posting payments and project AR, basically. I still work with him. So some charge entry, but mostly all AR work and clean up and figuring out why, insurances aren't paying or whatever. So just doing behind the scenes. So I still have my med spa. Then I have Dr. D, OB-GYN, radiology, and then mental health. So my time stays pretty full, but it's absolutely fulfilling and rewarding. And I'm training different offices on different things, both advanced MD related and unrelated, helping understand concepts of Medicare and replacements and who's primary and who's secondary and how to look for, or also knowing when a replacement's also Medicare, Medicaid. So I do a lot of training and I've created a couple of manuals to help do some had some cheat sheets on OB work as well for OB offices and understanding antepartum care versus global care versus delivery only versus medical necessity for high risk, medical necessity for, extra ultrasounds that necessarily aren't high risk, but they're medically necessary. So there's a couple of things that I have put together just for billing, helping others with billing. But throughout the last 25 plus years, it has been so completely rewarding because of the opportunities that I've been afforded, the opportunities to be able to be remote, that I can be there for my kids and their sporting events, or just to support. My daughter's a football manager, and so I go to all the football games and make sure she's taken care of, and usually end up helping with the other managers. So I've been very, very blessed. I know everything is completely 100% ordained by my Heavenly Father to provide for my needs at that moment. So not only am I able to provide for my family, but provide for providers, because if they don't have money coming in, they can't pay their staff. And if they can't pay their staff, that means they can't pay me. So it is ultimately important to, one, if I'm going to do something new, I'm going to study the heck out of it, and I'm going to learn it and make it my master. No. Also, I have 9 dogs. I have 9 dogs. So I get to be home and help take care of them as well. No, Mercedes, go lay down. So that's my story in a nutshell from 1998 to current. I absolutely love the billing world, and I love the opportunities that I get to be able to do new things and learn new specialties and accomplish different things. Now, one thing I will say that is extremely helpful and important as a biller from home, a multi-purpose machine, fax, copy, print, scan. I just got a new one this year because my previous one was not a Wi-Fi printer. And so I work off of this laptop, and then I have a big desktop screen or computer. I save everything on my OneDrive. So on my OneDrive, I have it logged on my system or my desktop and on my laptop. Every clinic I work with has a main folder. And then everything that I do for them, or I have to save if I post an EOB, or all documents relating to that clinic go to that folder on my OneDrive. So if I'm in their office for whatever reason, my med spa, I am at that office once every other Monday to get mail and whatnot. So sometimes I'll take my laptop, and I have everything on my OneDrive. So if I need anything that I've done from home, it's on my OneDrive on my laptop, so that my laptop is literally acting the same as my desktop. I do have a stamps account, and I have a scale, so I can mail things, print my postage, put it in my mailbox, to never have to go to the post office. And I'll show you what that looks like. If I have to, like, I just mailed out several claims for my radiology group, I'll put them on the scale. It tells me how much to print, and then print, and it's great tax deduction. Great tax deduction. Have my labels for my envelopes so that I'm not writing anything out for each of my groups. And of course, I have, I keep a timesheet for each of my offices. One of my offices, she does have an online clock system, but the rest of them, every other Monday, I print out the timesheets for each of my clinics so that I can log my time frame, and then I'm paid. One office, like I said, she has gone since she's moved. She joined a major hospital group. So she doesn't really have to do payroll except for me and some contract work from another employee that does stuff at her old office. She'll do theirs once a month, which is totally fine. I have 2 offices that I get paid every 2 weeks. And another office pays me periodically. I send him my time cards, and he sends me money here and there. So that's kind of my setup. Oh, you can't really see, but every office that I work with gets a binder so that I keep all their stuff separate so I don't have piles of paperwork sitting everywhere. So when I go to work on them, I put the binder over there. I write down my done time and put the binder over there, pick up the other binder, bring it over, write down on my sheet when I started working on it, and when I'm done with it, write down the time that I finished with it and put it over there so that I'm not just strung out, because I was that way in the beginning until I started that system. Every person has a system that works best for them. You just have to learn what works best for you. There's multiple mechanisms of keeping track of your time. There's multiple mechanisms of how you want to get paid. Strictly up to you. So there's my history, starting in pediatrics, family practice, radiology, ENT, multi-specialty, OB for the last 12 plus years, and mental health was the last one that I was able to dip my hands into, and that gives you 25 plus years of experience. I have learned how to immediately read insurances, immediately learn how to fight a claim, retractions, how to handle retractions, when to post them, how to, if an insurance overpays, how to appropriately deal with that, depending upon the carrier on how quickly they're usually doing it. Pretty much any coding thing claims, I've literally made it my life's mission to master it. So if you ever need any questions, you can just shoot me a holler, message me. My email is marissa.davis, Marissa.davis, common spelling, at cox.net. Always reach me by email, Facebook Messenger. I get a lot of messages on Facebook Messenger. I won't give my cell phone out here. If we're messaging, then and it can't be done by email, then I'll give my number. But for those who are trying to get a job in the coding world and you have your certification, no experience, hang in there. That'll be on another video.